Good evening, everyone, friends. This is Chitra Pillai. I'm an author, a success coach, and NLP trainer. And today I have with me my dear friend Kaushik Majumder, who is an author, a workplace challenge consultant, and a peak performance coach. Well, welcome to this session, Kaushik, and thank you for being a part of this. Let me introduce Kaushik in a short while. So basically, friends, Kaushik is the CEO of S3 Positive, and he is the co-founder of Crown Operation Management Systems. And besides this, he has tremendous industry experience of over, I think over a decade, like over 24 years of experience in the corporate sector. He is a workplace challenge consultant. Now, this is something which has intrigued me because I'm going to be asking him about what this actually means. He conducts behavioral workshops and seminars for corporates and SMEs, which were designed and created in order to ensure some sort of a tangible return on investment for the people who are taking up these sessions, right? So now he's also started off with something, the Career Accelerator show, in which he addresses the challenges that the professionals face at their workplace. So Kaushik, let me just begin with the first question, which probably would, I'm sure many of our viewers would be wanting to know what this is actually about, because this is something which even I was curious to know. We know about corporate trainers, but you call yourself as the workplace challenge consultant. So how is being a workplace challenge consultant different from, being the corporate trainers? Because corporate trainers is a term that we have heard very, it's a common term, but then you are, something which I have also heard for the first time, workplace challenge consultant. So could you please elaborate on that? You're on mute, Kaushik.
Right. So thank you very much, Chitra. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you for watching, viewers. Good evening. It's a wonderful opportunity. Yeah, Chitra is a dear friend of mine. So thank you again. So first question you have asked about the workplace challenge consultant. Yes, I sort of came up with this term, but before I talk about what exactly is, let me tell you about a little bit background about me. During my days in corporate, I faced a lot of challenges myself. As you mentioned that, I have worked for 2.5 decades in corporate industry in IT, worked with the leading IT organizations. So in my time, I faced a lot of challenges. Those are boss related, high workload, overdue promotion or pay hikes, unhappy team member when I became the leader of the team, unhappy customers. And these are very common. These are very common, mine was not a unique situation. And I'll tell you my experience with classroom training, so-called classroom trainings, yeah. So I'm talking about the behavioral ones because, the technical trainings works, but most of the trainings that I attended, the behavioral trainings, did not really solve my problems, because those sessions I found were more of a knowledge-oriented session, but very rarely solution-oriented, yeah. And what I always believe and say is that when I have a problem, I need a solution and not information. And solution can only be provided by people who have first-hand experience, who have gone through the pain themselves. Let me give an cricket analogy. We all understand cricket in our country. So only the person who have been there in the middle of the 22 years, holding a bat, surrounded by 50,000 spectators on the ground, can tell you how to hold the nerves in such a situation and deal with the world's best bowling attack. No one else can. No one else can. Not even the otherwise brilliant Harsha Bhogle. And in this case of the working professionals, they cannot talk to their family because that would add more stress. They cannot talk to their colleagues because that would put them in a weaker position. Now, it takes a mother to feel the pain of another. When I hear someone somewhere lost his job, which is happening these days, it reminds me of my time. It makes me feel the same pain and frustration. Many of these people have school-going kids, have EMIs to pay, aged parents to take care of, probably just got married and about to start their life. And suddenly their dreams are shattered. The world came crashing down on them. So I decided to help the working professionals all the more because I had no one to turn to when I needed help, when I was in trouble. And I don't want to I don't want any of these working professionals, these people make the same mistakes that I made, go through the same pain that I went through and feel the same sense of helplessness and uselessness that I felt. And that's why I decided to help working professionals as as a workplace challenge consultant. So with my first-hand experience and knowledge, I provide solutions to their specific problems. I work with working professionals at a group level in corporate training session and also in an individual one-to-one session that you mentioned. I hope now I've been able to clarify, what is workplace challenge consultant is, and I've been able to answer your question. Over
Yes,
to you,
thank you so
Chitra.
much. Yes, that was wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Because see, I think, it was a confusion for me as well. So when you
Right,
say workplace challenge consultant, is it for the people, like the employees at the workplace, or is it for the employers? The team, the management. So
right.
thanks for the clarification. Now,
Okay.
coming to your book, the Process Pro. Uh,
Yeah,
this is about something to deal with processes. But in this day and age, when people talk about disruptions, you are talking about following the process. Isn't
right.
any conflict in this? Don't you think it's, it's not following the process or walking back, doing the same thing over again and again without, being innovative? Isn't that, I feel this is a conflict. So what is your opinion on that?
Fantastic question, Chitra, and I'm asked this question so many times. It's a very good question. So I'm the process pro. That's also the name of my book, this book, and I'm as you mentioned also in your introduction, I'm also a process coach. So I get to hear this question very often. So I'll take a bit to answer this question. I hope that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So when this question I'm asked, I ask them back. I have a question for them, which is, can someone make an omelette without breaking an egg? And the answer is obvious no. And so what's that? That's following process. Hey, it's raining heavily. Is the sound is okay? You can hear me clearly?
Yes, you're absolutely audible. Yeah.
Okay. So that's nothing but process, following process. To me, process is what works. Ola, Amazon, Facebook, Google, these all are born out of disruption. That's absolutely correct. But all these organizations have a supply chain, have a model, delivery model, right? And what are these? These are simple process. Amazon does not disrupt the functioning of the supply chain every day. Ola has a model that it follows when they are serving their customers, and which it does not change every day in the name of disruption. Same for other organizations. To me, process is discipline. I tell that because discipline is you execute certain actions, certain predetermined actions, irrespective of your personal likes or dislikes to achieve a goal. And that's exactly what process is. Now, can you succeed without discipline? The answer is obviously no, because success has a pattern and success leaves its footprint. So, but people say yes, without discipline, also success, one can succeed. But then it would be like Halley's Comet. It would, it's a chamatkar, would happen once in a lifetime. Because if you don't follow the pattern, if you don't follow the footprints, if you don't follow the process, you cannot reproduce success. Now, I tell working professionals, process works, people don't. Because, you tell me a challenge. You tell me when they come up with their challenge, I tell them that you tell me a challenge and I'll show them the process behind it. Let me give you some example. Now, when somebody talks about firefighting, that he's firefighting all the time, which means that he doesn't have any work-life balance. I tell him to check the prioritization process behind it. If a person is overloaded with his work, I ask him to check the delegation process. If somebody is unhappy with his team members, or the team members are unhappy with him as a leader, then the best way to resolve is to look at the review and feedback mechanism. If my customers are not happy, I'll check my reporting mechanism. So if you have a difficult boss, check the communication process. So there might be other factors as well. These are not probably the only reason. However, end of the day, it's all about process and never about people. And before I end on this question, on this point, how many times a person can change his boss, his departments, his customers, his team members? the thing is, end of the day, the more you change, the more you find the same. So find it the same. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kaushik, for this. Right. So over to the next question. So now, since you've been working with so many working professionals, what do you think? I mean, is the most common mistake which is being committed by the working professionals?
That's again a very, 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 very interesting question, which I would not be able to answer had I been and had I been still working today. But now at this, where I am right now, I can, because I have seen both sides of the fence, both sides of the world. I've had my journey as an employee, and also it's been 3 years I've started my journey as an entrepreneur. So let me tell you, the biggest mistake of my life as a working professional, which I'm sure most of the working professionals will be able to connect with. As a working professionals, I never tried to network with people outside my workplace. I cocooned myself, surrounded by people, like-minded people, or people from the same industry I was from. I'll explain. When I look back to my routine now, when I was as a working professional, it was what it was: a morning exercise, get up early in the morning, then exercise, and 12 hours a day work in the office, come back home, watch some TV, and then have my dinner and go to bed. That's what, by and large, the daily routine was. The weekdays was, and weekends were like doing household chores, and for probably a family outing. Now, typical working professionals' daily routine is the same, a little bit here and there, but by and large, it's the same routine we all maintain. If somebody tells me that this is not my routine and he's a working professional, then I'll tell him, boss, you're an exception. Now, in this routine, I had no space for meeting with people beyond my known territories, which in business world it's called networking. Excuse me. And when I say networking, it's not just with people who are in the same business. It's also with people in any business or profession. The difference between an entrepreneur and a working professional is in the thought process. When I was a working professional going through the routine, I thought this isn't how my life is going to be till I'm retired. And once I'm retired, I will live on my savings. So never bothered to go out of my way to know people outside my industry, let alone people in business. Now, but entrepreneurs, they plan for networking. They go to BNI, they go to Lions, and there are so many platforms that they use just to do networking, just to meet people that they don't know. And the benefit is immense. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, it took time for me to understand how things work here, which I could have easily avoided had I known few people outside my workplace. So for working professionals, it's important to get to know people, make that extra effort, not just with the like-minded people, the like-minded ones from the same industry, but also people who are in different professions. They have to find time for networking. And I think that's where I personally made, I could have done better had I tried to do networking while in my working days. Over to you, Chitra.
Let's move on to the next question. So, what is that one common skill that you have noticed in successful professionals that you've come across?
Okay, there are so many, but since you have asked me one, the answer is it's a no-brainer. To be very honest, it's very simple but very important, as you mentioned, that most important skill, and the skill is communication. I am yet to come across a successful individual, whether a working professional or a businessman, with poor communication skill. However, the irony is, in our traditional education system, we learn very little about, as far as communication is concerned. We learn literature, we learn how to increase the vocabulary, but not communication. And communication is not just about how good a person speaks. An interesting thing about communication is if a person is communicating while he is not communicating, while he or she is not communicating. One communicates when, through his silence as well, right? Let me talk about communication in a workplace environment. How many times, you mentioned that you have had also your experience, your share of experience in corporate world. How many times have you heard people saying, ये बंदा बोल बच्चन है and इसके लिए promotion मिलता है, हर साल promotion मिलता है, What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We actually look down on somebody's professional success and superior communication skills because we cannot match it. Yeah. So many people, including myself in my working days, who are unhappy because, they feel their good work was not recognized by their bosses, and they blame everybody, the boss, the culture of the company, the organization for that, but themselves. The root cause lies in their own communication. Let me give an example. A person invented a vaccine which could eradicate a deadly disease, but no one knows about it. Nobody knows the importance of that medicine, right? Would that help? People would care? Of course, no. Communicating good performance is as much important as the performance, as the good performance itself. But the unfortunate part is the working professionals work very little on communications. To them, I want to make a suggestion. Take help from experts, because only an expert can give you feedback. And without feedback, nothing can be improved. So if you have any problem, whether it's in your family, relationship, or workplace, I'm addressing to working professionals, related to any problem, the first thing you should check is the communication. I hope I have answered to your question, Chitra. Over to you, please.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Kaushik, again. I mean, I think, yes, as you highlighted the importance of communication and also getting feedback. So basically, coming to the work-life balance, now in today's scenario where people are working from home, what do you think is the biggest challenge faced by today's working professionals, in managing their work-life, balancing it out? And what would be your advice to them on how can they deal with this particular scenario?
Right. So people talk about work-life balance, and let me give you a spoiler here. I have a problem with the statement striking work-life balance. I'll tell you why. Look, we need to understand that a person's success, an individual's success, is dictated by the decision the person takes, right? And the decisions are controlled by the person's conditioning, the system of that particular person. Now, your mind conditioned to achieve success or not is actually going to decide whether you're going to achieve success or not. And one way to do that is by getting rid of the negativity from the system, from the conditioning, right? And the work-life and the word balance has a inherent negative connotation in it. I'm telling you, I'll explain how it is. When we talk balance between positive and negative. We talk balance between right and wrong, good and bad, pleasure and pain. So when we talk work-life balance, subconsciously what we are conditioning our mind is, by telling that is, life is pleasure, work is pain. And we have to balance between pleasure and pain. Now, if you perceive your work as a pain, tell me, would you enjoy doing work? Of course not. If you don't enjoy what you do, would that not impact your performance? Of course, yes. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. The more you enjoy, the better you perform. And the better you perform, the more you enjoy. And that's why I talk about work-life freedom and not work-life balance. No, what is work-life freedom? I'll explain. A person enjoying work-life freedom indicates that the person having pleasure living the both professional space as well as his personal space. Yeah. So the person goes to work not because he is compelled to go to work, because he loves to go to work. He doesn't need any convincing to go to work. Okay. To him, the time he spends at work is as much enjoyable as the time he spends with his family and friends. So to achieve work-life freedom for the working professionals, I'm going to make 2 points here. I'm going the two things they can start with. Number one is look back to the phase of your life when you were happy with your work and what you were doing differently that you are doing now. what you're doing differently at that time that you are not doing now, and try to emulate those small things. And let me tell you, these small things would make a sea of difference. Okay, so do that. That was the first thing. Second thing is, as I mentioned while talking about process, look at the prioritization process. Use the urgent and important matrix to prioritize your work. You know how important and urgent your work is, and accordingly you prioritize your work. Do the prioritization process, because if you don't prioritize your work, all you end up doing is firefighting. So that's what about work-life balance. I hope I've been able to answer your question. Over to you, Chitra.
Yeah, thank you, Kaushik. I love this perspective of yours. It's not work-life balance, but it's work-life freedom. Because the moment you speak about balance, you presume that there is certain imbalance in your life, and that's where you're trying to strike. So wonderful for this new term, which I think probably I'm going to start implementing that, or rather, following that term, which is work-life freedom. That's wonderful. Okay. Now over to the next question. So there is a lot of discussion on leadership. I mean, especially in any organization. It's not only organization, even in life for that matter. But specific to the workspace, what is the one common challenge that is faced by first-time managers in an organization, and how can they deal with this particular challenge?
Right, and this particular topic with regards to first-time managers is very emotionally close to my heart. So, see, leadership is all about influencing people, and one can only influence people when the people know that person. Okay, I can only influence a person when the people I'm planning to influence or going to influence, they know me, my work, or my skill. Now, for the first-time managers, they start with a clean slate as a manager. Some people hit it off instantly on the very first day, because they have something in that comes naturally to them. They have that charisma in them, right? But for most of the first-time managers, they start with a clean slate. They don't have that advantage. They have to climb the staircase step by step. Okay. One thing we need to understand here is that as a leader, you need your team's support to succeed. Without your team support, no matter how good your leader, of course, you cannot be a good leader if you don't have your team support. But nevertheless, without your team support, you cannot succeed. No matter how skilled you are, how experienced you are, how knowledgeable you are. Okay. And you would get your team support only when you have a rapport with your team members. When you are connected with your team members. Now, here I would take the example of Saurav Ganguly, inarguably the best, the most popular leader in Indian cricket team. I heard him a few days back saying that I can't make a Dravid act like a Yuvraj, or vice versa. Yuvraj act like a Dravid. Very, very important statement for managers to understand, for leaders to understand. What he meant was everybody in the team has a different style of working. Therefore, onus is on the leader to treat them differently, to get the best out of each individual, so that they perform collectively. Most of the first-time managers get promoted without any succession plan or training or mentoring. And I'm saying this from my own experience. Yeah? They are just assigned the role because they are a good performer in terms of technical performer, or they have been working up in a particular position for long. So they just have been promoted to the next level and given the managerial responsibilities without any preparation or planning. So I call the first-time managers are the accidental managers, because they become manager by accident and not by design or by plan. So what happens is, either in this particular case, two things can happen. Mostly two things can happen. One is that either they become a control freak and boss around, okay, because that's how the technical people, most of the technical people work, because those who are technically good, they sort of they understand that they're technically good. Okay, so they have a subtle ego, which is okay. I have no problem with that. But when they become boss, without knowing how to deal with people, two things happen. One is, of course, as I mentioned, they become control freak and try to boss around my way or highway. They get involved in every details of the team members, what they're doing. Okay, they try to track every details. That's one way of doing things. Another way is They try to make everyone happy and end up doing all the work by himself. And that's not a work of the manager. The manager's work is to manage a team, not to do the jobs of others, of the team members. Therefore, both ways of management, people management do not work. They don't work probably initially, but not in the long term. So the secret is first to know your team, talk to the individual team members, build that rapport, build that connect, and then work with each team member according to his or her style to get the best out of the team. And that's what I have learned through my experience, and it has worked wonders for me. Over to you, Chitra. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful question.
So basically what I understand is you mean people management skills is something that, especially for managers, it's an extremely important area where it will help them, progress, or I would say succeed in managing the team effectively, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was watching Jack Ma saying that if you cannot, if you cannot manage people, then you as a professional you have a very limited shelf life. Okay,
Right.
you cannot proceed beyond a point. So it's always about people management. If you want to be a leader, it's always about people management. And when it comes to people management, it's not that you cannot choose the people. Most of the time you cannot choose the people. There is a team and you have made the manager of that team. So you have to basically adapt to the team's way of working, but subtly. Okay, and you can only do that only when you build the rapport, the people, and that can be done again through communication, the greatest skill, the biggest skill one person can have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's move on to the next. So I have been following this, you've started something called Ask the Icon, where you've been inviting people who are very successful in their line of work in the respective industry. I just was a little curious to know about what's the trigger for this particular series that you have started off with.
Okay. So, I mean, as you know, I work with individual professionals to help them find solutions to their workplace challenges. So 3 months back, when the lockdown started, the uncertainties and frustration also started to trickle in the mind of the working professionals. Now, the continuous flow of the news, like job loss, 135, there was a figure, job loss, pay cuts, that did not help either, So these people have a lot of questions with very little clarity. They have uncertainties about their career and also regarding their, how the team is going to be. They're going to work from the office. If not office, then how things would be done. So all these questions with very little clarity. Now I can help only the people I know or the people who approach me for help. And there are so many of them who are equally frustrated, who don't know me or I don't know them. Okay. So you probably seen so many webinars that are happening and online discussions that are happening these days. But very little actually in terms of specific solutions to a specific challenge. And that's when I thought that, why not taking advantage of technologies and experts from the industries, some of the stalwarts from the corporate world, who are great influencers. People know them, people listen to them, who can help these working professionals. And the idea is to make a difference in the lives of working professionals by helping them with specific solutions to their problems or concerns. And that's how it started. Ask the Icon completed its 9th episode yesterday. The response, both from the industry stalwarts, whoever I have approached, and the working professionals have been terrific so far. Let me tell you, excuse me, whoever I have approached to attend my show as a guest, all these people who have attended as a guest, everybody said yes. The moment I approached them with the proposal, this is what I'm planning to do, this is the objective of this initiative, would you like to join? And the moment they heard, the reason and the objective behind it, they said yes. I always believe that there are so many people who are there to help. all one needs to do is just ask. And it has worked. It has worked for me. Whenever there is a problem, I just ask people. I just ask for help. So end of the day, today I'm happy that it's sort of been accepted so well, and it has achieved its objective. So yeah, that's about Ask the Icon. Thank you very much, Chitra, for this question.
I just love the thought process behind this, being more solution oriented and providing solutions to people who have been affected by obviously the pandemic and the challenges that have come across. So wonderful thought process, Kaushik. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So now coming over to the next question. So I think in one of these episodes you had asked your guest about the salary non-disclosure policy.
Right.
So which is I as far as I know, it is very common within organizations. So what is your opinion? I mean, I just wanted to get your perspective. Like, should the organizations have this particular policy of salary non-disclosure?
Right. Yeah, that's a question. Throughout my corporate career, I just couldn't find an answer to. I never understood this policy. Because the least that an employee expects from the leadership is transparency. Okay, the management is expected to look after their the employees as a family members, and within a family, what acts as a glue is the communication, which is in organizational context, it is transparency, nothing but transparency. Now, a salary non-disclosure policy suggests that whoever decides employee salary or whatever guidelines that are followed to decide salaries cannot justify why someone is getting less salaries than his colleague or her colleagues. Right? See, I might or might not agree to the justification. That's another discussion. But justification shows that the system is transparent. There is a benchmark. There are certain parameters. So I know next time I want to get a promotion or I want to get a salary hike, I can get it if I attain a certain competency level. I can clear certain tests, certain parameters I satisfy, right? Now, organization, they talk about values. But the moment an employee joins an organization, he has to sign a salary non-disclosure policy. And the interesting thing is, I tell you from my experience, again, whatever I have talked so far is my experience. So the moment the employee is out of the cabin of HR or the management, the first thing he discusses with his colleagues is CTC, the cost to the company's remuneration. I'm talking about, I'm talking about here is less experienced people who are say 5 years, 3 years, 2 years experience, or the freshers experience. I'm talking about them. Now, for the senior guys, all they need to have is a connect in the payroll department to get this info. So anybody can know anybody's salary. My point is, as a leader, I should be able to give a reason to the member of my team or organization that why someone else has been promoted and the person in question has not. Simple thing. Yeah. If I can do that, then as an organization, I believe I'll not need a non-disclosure policy, salary non-disclosure policy, and many of the policies that are existing in many of the organizations, if I'm truly transparent in word and spirit. Over to you, and very good question. Thank you very much, Chitra.
So let's move on to the next.
Right.
Considering the media reports, I mean, of course, we all have been following what's been happening throughout the world. So about, I think over 130 million people have already lost their jobs due to the current scenario, the pandemic. So what would be your suggestion to people who have actually lost their jobs in this current scenario? I mean, what is the way forward for them? I mean, what do you feel?
See, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's heart-wrenching. In mid-90s when I started my career, the job market was in upward swing. The first time I saw the situation went bad was in 2002 when post 9/11, and then 2008. But this time the situation is much worse. Yeah. So what I'm going to tell you here, on this platform is what my experience is, and my experience led me to believe that a person does not lose his or her job all on a sudden. Hear me very carefully. I mean, a person wakes up in the morning and sort of found himself out of job. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. There are always prior signals. Okay. But unfortunate thing is that most of the cases, the persons tend to ignore those signals. They live in denial that, I am the most, I'm an indispensable person in the organization, that they believe till the last moment. And that's where the problem lies. Look, all my answers, as I mentioned, are going to be in line with my conviction. And my conviction is, for things to change, I have to change. For things to change for me, I have to change, simply because I cannot change others. I cannot change others. I can change only myself. So let me tell you, losing job does not make a person incompetent. What makes a person incompetent is being not prepared, therefore blaming the situation and cursing the luck when the situation arises. And I'm saying this from my first-hand experience. See, when a Vishal Sikka, let me give an example. When a Vishal Sikka or a Cyrus Mistry, a billionaire himself, I keep telling these names because, these are glaring examples. When these two gentlemen, one of them a billionaire himself, can find themselves out of job, or even a genius like Steve Jobs found himself fired from the very company he himself had founded, then what is the percentage of chance, you and me have? Minuscule. So I would like to make 3 points here for the people who are staring at job loss, okay, who have lost their job. First thing is, accept the reality, because losing job is not end of the world. Losing job is not end of the world. Accept the reality and learn from it. The second thing is, find out what is that separates you from your colleagues who are top performers and are retained. So bridge the gaps. Find out what are the difference between you and the colleagues who are the top performers and who are retained and who are not. Find out what is the reason and bridge the gaps. You should be vying to be the last person handed over the pink slip. That was the second point. And third point is, find out what is that one skill you have or you can pick up which you can ethically use. I'm saying ethically use, because it's important that you are in the organization you are working for. It's absolutely transparency over there as well. There are not conflict of interest in that case. So that's why I'm using ethically use for commercial gain, and people would be ready to pay for it. No, it could be your teaching skill, it could be digital marketing, it could be share market trading, training, which I have taken up myself, copywriting, storytelling. There are many opportunities that can be done in parallel to your job. Find that out, learn it, and use it. Yesterday, I had interviewed Kishore Chitra, the ex-CEO of Capgemini India and Middle East. I asked him that what do you think can be done by the people who lost their job? And I asked him that whether is it right for people to take up parallel source of income if while they're on job. He said yes, as long as they are doing that ethically. Mm-hmm. If I cannot pay them for their time, okay, and if they think that they need that extra money, then fine. But it has to be in line with the company's policies and rules. If that is maintained, then I have no problem with that. And I totally that a person just doing his job, because you never know what is in store tomorrow. Over to you, Chitra.
Yes. So what one point I have picked up from your perspective is, it's more about upskilling yourself and learning from whatever has happened throughout. I mean, rather than blaming the company or the situation, look at how can you improve yourself, accept and improve yourself. That's what you're trying to highlight. So wonderful. Right. I love this perspective again. So now coming over to the next, I mean, I'm sure I being a parent of a fresher, I also relate to this particular question. So what would be your suggestion to freshers who are staring at an extremely uncertain future? I mean, because this is a time when there have been many graduates who are just wanting to explore the opportunities which are available for them, and suddenly we find a lot of people who are well experienced and they have lost their jobs, and these people are wondering, what is it? I mean, like, especially my son is also in the same boat, so I needed some advice from you as well on that.
Right. So again, very pertinent question, considering it's very relevant in today's time. See, no doubt, again, it's a heart-wrenching situation. No doubt the situation is uncertain. However, there is a silver lining to the situation when it comes to freshers. I'll tell you why. See, when we started our career, when I started my career in 90s, we started in a high, as I mentioned in one of your earlier answers. Then things turned bad, and we did not know how to deal with it. Now today, excuse me, today, those people with kids, who are having hefty EMIs, the responsibility of their children's, school-going children's, the bills to pay for them, this situation is particularly grave because the cost for them is extremely high in their case. So, however, for the fresher, it's a learning curve at a low cost, relatively low cost. Crisis, I believe, and it's you probably would agree that crisis separates men from boys. Yeah, it depends on how one deals with it. For freshers, there are two ways to deal with it. One is blaming the situation and wait for the things to get changed, get better, or face it and turn the crisis into opportunities. Someone told me that, few Kirana shops, I was told by someone, I've forgotten who, but he told me that Kirana shops, grocery shops, they gone online. First time shopping, they're giving 10% discount with home delivery. Only thing the customer has to do is download the app and install the app. So they are doing that. So those who are adapting to the situation, they will survive and sustain and flourish once the situation is down. See, always remember one thing, there are people who make more money in crisis, ethically, of course. I'm not saying those who make unethically, I'm not talking about them. But there are people who make more money ethically than, in crisis than they make in normal times. So I would suggest to these freshers that think about learning new technologies, try out digital platforms. The gaming industry is growing now, how you can contribute and make your career in gaming industry. Even do that parallelly. Check the website designing. This is something which is now going to go sky high. The demand would be for web developer would be sky high, simply because now people would realize the importance of going online. Okay, all the businesses doing following the brick and mortar strategy would sort of convert it to their business model to online model, and the demand for the website designers and the creation would be sky high. I saw also, I see so many advertisements on social media looking for people who can do ghost writing for authors. Content writing for websites or blogs is going to be massive. So use this as an opportunity, this time as an opportunity, because every problem, as I mentioned, the crisis can be turned, every crisis can be turned into an opportunity. Because, let me tell you, as a fresher, at this early stage of your career, you have the choices now, which you might not have 10 years down the line, 10 years being in the industry. So utilize the time by learning something new. And I've just told you what are the things, what are the avenues that can be opened up in front of you. So nice question again, Chitra. Thank you very much.
So wonderful, insight again here, Kaushik. So coming to, I think we have taken up a lot of time of yours. So I just one more question before we wind up. So there are many professionals who are not really happy with their career. The reason, but they still choose to, hold on to their jobs or stick around with their jobs because, of course, they have their family responsibilities, and it also gives them a sense of financial security. So however, you have taken a very bold decision of leaving your successful career, and you started your own venture about 2.5 to 3 years back. So how have you found this transition so far? I mean, how has your journey been, and what would be your suggestion to professionals who want to join the entrepreneurial bandwagon? I mean, like, considering that it's a new way of thinking altogether from being a working professional to being an entrepreneur. So what would your suggestion be? How has your journey been so far?
Right. Right. Again, the questions are perfect. Okay. So let me tell you, if someone wants to be an entrepreneur because he or she is unhappy with his current job, then I'd suggest him to, or her, to change his job. Don't get into the journey of entrepreneurship, because starting a business is not going to work for him or her. It's not going to work, because business works only if a person can do whatever it takes to achieve his goal without looking at the calendar, at least in initial years. Journey of an entrepreneur, especially when hitting roadblocks, it's a lonely journey. People often ask me, did your family support your decision of leaving your career and starting a business? As you mentioned, 2.5 decades. I've been working. I had a secure job and I was doing good. So suddenly I took the decision. The people ask me, did your family support my decision? The answer is big no, which is absolutely normal. Neither I expected them to trust me blindly, expected them to blindly trust my decision, because I did not have a track record in business. Neither I had any understanding, or anyone from my family had anything to do with ever in business. And I decided to take the plunge, but and put all our lives in uncertainty. And given this situation, nobody will support, because they're realistic, and I accepted that. However, I had a conviction. Yes, I was not happy with my job. But it was not like I was unhappy. That's why I wanted to get into business. Rather, it was because I wanted to get into business that made me unhappy with my job. It's the other way around, right? So I made mistakes. I learned from my mistakes. And it's hard way learning. But today, when I look back and where I am, I'm happy, simply because I have been doing what I enjoy doing, right? So what I'm doing is I'm enjoying. So here, I will make 2 quick points for those who are planning to switch to entrepreneurial journey from professional career. There are 2 points I would like to make over here. First is, give yourself time if you want to become an entrepreneur. In this journey, you will make a lot of mistakes, because the bigger the success, I've made a lot of successful achievers throughout my last 2.5 years during the journey of my book. And one thing is common: the bigger the success, the longer the list of mistakes. Okay. You'd find, in this context, I'm going to tell you that you'd find a lot of business coaches, a lot of people who'd come to you and promise to make your business 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x in a year or 2 years, right? I've never had any, I didn't believe them, simply because business is all about hard work and it takes time. Of course, I'm impatient. I want to achieve as quickly as possible, but it takes own time. So I, don't fall for it, and don't take the shortcut method, because it doesn't happen that way. So first one was that, give yourself time. The second one is, ensure you have a steady cash flow needed to run your family. That's again a mistake many of the entrepreneurs make. Okay, they sort of try to use their savings and sort of use that savings as a capital for their business, or use the savings to run their house while they're trying their hands in business. Okay, so because the problem is, when you break your savings to run your family, subconsciously you would be binding yourself within a time frame to succeed in business, because what is your limit. When you're talking about your funds, your savings, what is your limit. So subconsciously you are telling that this is what time I'm going to give myself, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. If you go beyond that, even dates, that again is something which is you know, which is bad decision. And that's not how it works in business. So that the 2 points, give yourself time, and ensure that you have a steady workflow, cash flow, sorry, not workflow here, cash flow needed to run your family while you are trying your hands with business. I hope I've been able to answer your question. Thank you very much, Chitra, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Kaushik, because I think, yes, this is two things. What I have understood is you should not look at entrepreneurship as an escape mechanism from your job. I mean, just because you don't like your job, you look at something where you don't have a boss over you, or kind of that kind. That is one part. And the other part is, yes, you need to be realistic and have enough cash flows so that your family is also well taken care of and your responsibilities are handled well. Thank you so much for your insights, Kaushik, and that's been a wonderful session. And thank you once again. I hope all the viewers have also enjoyed, listening to I would say the pearls of wisdom from Kaushik. And thank you once again for being a part of this journey.
So thank you very much, Chitra, for your time. It's been wonderful. The questions were very, very good, and wish you success in whatever you're doing in your endeavor. And to the viewers, have a great day. And I hope that the answers you find helpful. So thank you very much for your time as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you. Bye bye.